At the end of 2013.
13, right.
At the end of on January 1 of 2014, a county attorney, let's just say that it switched Democrat, our current,
Right.
a new attorney could be appointed.
But then why wouldn't all of the terms that we're talking about expire? Why would it just be that one position?
Because that's the one that was by county law.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had this discussion.
Like clerk of the board. Clerk of the board is at the will of the board.
Right.
So you have no security year per year?
No.
Wait a minute.
I serve at the pleasure.
She has 24 hours security.
She got 24 hours.
When you're fired.
Wait a minute.
For another 65 days.
We had
You'll be reading about all this in the newspaper.
And I'm in Florida.
I mean, I don't mean to jump, so wherever you're at,
remember, we had, before one second, I just want to explain. Last week, we had the discussion here about the county attorney, if you remember, because the executive serves 4 years, the legislator 3 years. Does he serve at the term of the legislature, or the executive, or does he serve, that's something we had to iron out there, if you remember. Now, Michael, go ahead.
No, just take the real property tax director. I believe there's a state law which says you get a 6-year appointment. So her appointment, I think she just got appointed a few years ago, I'm guessing. So her appointment would continue regardless of the end of her term.
I'm going to say yes.
I would have to think yes.
But I'm going to look
because
into
of
that.
state
It's
law.
a question I made.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to say yes for that, social services, not for the Commissioner of Public Works, though. Not for DPW.
Okay.
Because you changed that. It was not a highway superintendent with a 4-year term. You changed that a while ago and made it a Commissioner of Public Works doing the functions of a highway superintendent. And you may have done that same thing with your personnel.
It's done a long
When was
time.
that?
Personnel's not directed through the state as civil service?
no, he would be. His term is. The problem is what created his position
Was us.
was a local law that the Board of Supervisors created.
Okay.
Because the only thing we're required to have is a civil service commission
Okay.
by state law.
All of our.
We're not
local laws
required to
are on
have
the internet,
a personnel
so
director.
they're posted, so I'm going to look that up and see if I
Okay.
can.
And we didn't have one until 1983.
That one I'm pretty familiar with,
Long time ago.
the highway
Yeah.
superintendent.
To a commissioner.
All right, and so what happens is, that's why Doug is supposed to be looking at what local laws are inconsistent with the new charter.
Yes,
There's two things that just hit me here. Rodham was talking about that. It says that the county legislature has its first organizational meeting, blah, blah, blah. And every 3 years thereafter shall appoint a clerk,
Right.
who shall serve until his or her successor is appointed. So does that inherently mean, since this is being liberally construed, does that inherently mean that that is a 3-year term, period?
Sounds like it to me.
It sounds like it to me too.
It's
Or she can be changed, him or her. I always meant to use him or her. Okay. Can be changed anytime they feel like it, which would be insane. Makes no
Why,
sense.
that's where it currently is.
That's what it currently was.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be that way. You have people
Well,
hanging on the wall. I mean, you want some continuity, don't you?
Yeah, but there's no conflict there in the respect that the clerk of the board works for the legislature.
and not
It's
for the county.
not an executive appointment subject to some approval.
Yeah.
It's the county legislature.
But does that again, is this saying, does the county clerk serve the entire term, or is the county clerk can be
What's
removed
it say?
every
Clerk
3
of the
weeks?
board, not
Clerk of the board.
I'm sorry.
Clerk of the board.
Clerk of the board.
And I think it says for the term of the.
That's what I would think.
Term of the legislature.
So that's that, okay. Now, where in the city, it would state in many cases, they call them supervisors or whatever, I guess that's what they call supervisors. If there's a vacancy and they're from a ward, I guess the local legislative body picks the new term. Here, this doesn't happen, so that was wiped out our section of the charter, I assume.
Wait. I know what you're talking about, like if it's supervisors, like if
Leads.
I was to pass away right now, it would be the alderman
The alderman
who would replace
choose-
me,
Replace you.
which irritates me.
Right, that's not the
been-
process going forward.
Right. It's not the
What's the process going forward?
I think the board appoints.
Yeah,
Yes,
the board.
it's-
I like that better.
Right, because that was, it had to be the same party, which made it crazy.
If a county legislator leaves a job for whatever reason, death or whatever, the county legislator appoints somebody until the next general election.
Okay, so that straightens that out.
That's
Good.
That's pretty clear.
Does
Good.
that have to, but they have to be within the same district of the
Oh,
person
yeah.
that left?
If the vacancy should
Yeah.
occur in the
Right.
office, the vacancy shall be filled with the next general election for the remainder of the unexpired term.
Right.
The legislature shall appoint a qualified elector of the district in which the vacancy occurred to serve until the successor has been elected.
And it
In the
says
same
nothing.
party?
That doesn't say
Doesn't say
that.
that.
No,
Doesn't say
So it could
that.
be anybody.
could be anybody.
Okay,
Which
in
is
ours,
why
it
would-
says it has to be because the public voted, let's say for a Democrat, it had to be a Democrat.
Well, that's one thing that's very clear in the charter.
Good, I know that, I read that, saw that, and you know,
That's pretty.
I don't think we should tie somebody down to pointing somebody to one party or another. I mean,
well, a lot of things are the way they
I
are.
We have a perfect example right across.
Yes, we do.
You're on the table,
Oh,
all right? The person that he replaced
Yes.
Right, that's the way.
was a Republican, and he's a Democrat. The town board, which was Republican, appointed a Democrat to fill the...
Exactly.
And he's a great guy,
And I have no problem with that.
nice guy.
No, but this is where politics start to come into it.
Yeah, but I'm not much of a politician on this local level. You know? Well, it's true, I mean, you
But
know
you're-
the people, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So on your administrative code, do you think we should, if you had to do it, what would you do?
No, it's what would you do?
I know what
That's
I
what we
might, but
do.
I'm looking for advice. I mean, I'd like to listen to what people say. I'm not God.
I mean, first we found you don't have to do it, right? Isn't that, I mean, it's a may, not a must.
Right.
It's in here.
No, yeah, with a big
So I think we have an obligation to do something.
What that says
Do
is
something.
if you choose to do it, you must do it by local law. That's all that says. If you choose, you must do it by.
Should we be giving something to the new board, how the county operates?
See, I talked to the,
Well, your charter will give them the broad parameters.
Well, that's just that, though.
several months ago, I talked to a lady in the Department of State, and we emailed back and forth. I have the emails home, I wish I had them here, several times, asking this specific question. First of all, you know, do we or do we not have to have an administrative code? And that answer was definitely no, you do not have to.
Yeah, that's what we found as well.
And the second question was, does this board of if we decide to do an administrative code, does this board of supervisors have to do it, or does the new county legislature have to do it? Either one can do it. I have the emails right home, and I can't remember her name. She was an attorney in
And
the
that makes,
Department of
and that
State.
makes
Look,
sense.
look at the confusion that we have. Put it on 9 new people and ask them if they're in their term, will they ever get an administrative code? You at least have the foundation of an administrative code. You may not like certain key points to it, but Oneida County, when they passed their charter back, whatever, you know what I mean? On December 15th of that, 2 weeks before that year began, that's when the existing Board of Supervisors passed that administrative code for that new
It was
charter
all
of
adopted
government.
at once.
And it sounds like you should do that.
I think we should.
Just so that they have something in place. You may not like it.
We're not gonna have everything perfect by no means, but at least they'll have
Have
something.
the
Let them
time to
amend
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
No,
Exactly.
that's why I thought we were working on
Yep.
chapters 2 and 3,
Let them-
because that would be enough for us to handle.
This will be chapter 2, and the next board can do chapter 3, and the executive.
2 is who, legislature?
2 is admin code. You did chapter 1 in my mind, you passed the charter. Chapter 2 for this board
Oh,
is,
I was talking about the charter itself.
What are you talking about?
I think chapter 2
The
of the
first two
charter.
chapters in the
Oh,
charter.
chapter 2 of the charter.
You and I are on different pages.
Yeah, I was just trying to get the problems of the legislature or the county executive resolved. As far as the department heads went, I thought that they can deal with that later on. If we could get through the chapter 2 and 3 of the charter, we would be doing.
Those are the things we had left we talked about the last time was like
What's chapter 2 and
about
3?
the county attorney.
I think number
Step
1
process.
is,
If you want,
I
Just
did.
a step process is how they're referring to it.
Well, here's a couple of specific issues I wanted to come here and talk to you about that require further review by this committee. One is on page 7, section 304B. I thought this was an unusual
Yeah, I did too.
an unusual process that no other county charter has.
I agree.
other than Putnam.
Is this language from
Gotta
Putnam?
check Putnam.
We'll take a look.
So, this
We didn't see it in any other one though
It's
that we
crazy.
looked at.
requires the county executive to hold a public hearing after the legislature
Public codes.
Okay.
passes a local law prior to the county executive
Yeah.
adopting or vetoing the
Right.
local law.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
Right.
This is not workable in my mind.
I agree. I wrote it down.
You have the public hearing anyways as a local law. You got the input of the public. The county exec should just have 10 days,
Right.
up or down.
Yeah,
I
right.
agree. I agree. I don't agree with this at all.
Send it back to the board for an override, process done.
Good.
So this,
Process is too
this
long.
I flagged for you to fix in your charter amendments
here.
as technical cleanup, and the public is not gonna be all over you on this.
I don't think they
You already
will.
hit the public input.
It's too long. The process can go, if you really read into it and go to
You
the
haven't
end,
passed anything, right?
it becomes total madness.
Okay. Another issue here, page 18 and 19, and this was the subject of our conversation largely 3 weeks ago, the Department of Law. There is a section that provides for conflicts. We believe your version is clear, and we talked about this, that in cases of conflict, the county attorney represents the legislature's interests. And we did pull some other, we asked us to look at some other counties about, so we pulled a couple here. Here's another example of one here. Whenever the interests of the board or the county are inconsistent with the interests of any county officer or employee paid, the county attorney shall represent the interests of the board and the county.
Right.
Well, it should be.
But doesn't it also say that if the interests are different, that the county executive has the right to have his own
Subject
or
to
her own?
appropriation.
So with that theory, the county executive would then be the person hiring both legal,
Yeah.
because he,
Hired the county attorney with your confirmation.
That's
and
right.
Hired outside counsel.
right.
Here's another one here. Whenever the interests of the county are inconsistent with the interests of the officer, paid his compensation from the county attorney shall represent the interests of the county.
Mhm.
Doesn't distinguish between.
And
In order to remove your county attorney, we talked about this, you need 2/3 of the legislature approve. We think this is unique to your county. Most of the charters provide that the county attorney works at the pleasure of the county executives. And the termination to terminate is the county executive or the legislature, but not both. You have it both.
Yeah, the way we read your process is you'd need the county executive to say, you're fired, then, or I'm letting you go, then it would then go to your board or your legislature to vote, you need a 2/3 vote. So it'd be a two-step process.
right.
Where most of the counties we find, it's either gonna be a board that can, the county attorney's usually working at the pleasure of, it's usually the county executive, and so the county executive can say, you're gone or you're staying. Here, it's kind of a combo, and it's pretty unique. And the reason we flagged it was we could think of examples of where that might become a problem, and or if you really wanted to get rid of the county attorney, it makes it to be a difficult process.
You guys need to talk to Putnam County.
Yeah, so
Wait,
what the heck are they doing?
And
I will, but there's a new county executive in there. She
There's
just got in there.
operational issues here.
my problem with, now that you've pointed this out to me, is let's say there is an issue and the county executive and the board are at odds, and the county attorney is to represent, that the executive hired is to represent the board, and they're doing a great job. Well, if it's the executive's right to fire them, guess what? You're canned, because I'm not gonna have you, who has all of this knowledge and experience and the ammo, to bury me. So then you have to get new legal experience now. And then and the person to hire that person is me. So it's where's the checks and balances there? And
Sure, it's a way to protect in cases of conflict.
The check is all on the hire, you have to confirm.
Yes, and I get that.
Usually termination is the CE.
But if I have a conflict with you,
I'm
then
your county attorney.
I would have thought that I would have approached the attorney that I appointed first for my advice that you consider to have a conflict with.
If I'm the county attorney,
You're the legislature.
or I'm the legislature,
I'll be the legislator, you be the attorney, and you be in this scenario. Let's
you're
play
the
it out.
executive.
And
I'm the attorney.
and I've appointed you, and I've gotten my legal advice from
For
you,
me.
which is in conflict with what they believe.
Okay,
Now you go work for them.
right.
Right. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that
I'm
one.
telling you, this
And
is a problem.
then, if you argue aggressively, what is our relationship for the next 4 years?
I'm gonna give you one perfect example right now. Let's say you're pro-fracking, okay? You're
Perfect.
pro-fracking. And I'm gonna represent your interests, and the board is totally against fracking.
That's right.
Bang. It's just that simple.
Doesn't work.
Total conflict, resolution, chaos.
Great analysis.
You want me fired. You want me fired because I'm giving legal advice you believe is inconsistent with the law.
See, there are no good scenarios.
It's beyond, you take that even a step further with that example. So now your county gets sued by a citizen that doesn't want hydrofracking, let's say, and then the county attorney is the one defending the county.
Right.
Then, let's say you lose that lower court decision. Now, the county attorney has to make that decision. I want to, who decides we want to file an appeal on this? We just lost. Well, the exec has one idea and the board has another. The board's happy you lost, the exec is mad you lost. Who gets to say who files that appeal? Who gets to tell the county attorney, let this die or let's go after it? And
Excuse me.
it's a problem that's popping up. This isn't a unique problem for
Right. It's not unique to Montgomery.
Montgomery County.
All over.
This is a problem with the whole system, and there's lawsuits that are coming up on this right now. With that being said, I mean, we think it does make it, you do make it clear that it is the board that the county attorney represents, and that's actually better than most charters we looked at. Most of them are, like Steve was read, represents the county. Well, what does that mean? And that's where these lawsuits are coming into play, because that doesn't really, we don't know what that means. It could mean the board, it could mean the county exec. But our more concern with the way we flagged it was it seems like there's this two-step process that seems very difficult when and if to cut ties with the county attorney.
There's no less expensive way of doing this that works. If you take the city, which Michael keeps referencing, when you take the city and then you've got the same issue with the city mayor and corporation council, and you've got the council who doesn't believe that they're represented, right, because he's working for the mayor, so you have this animosity that's continually built in. The only ones that I've ever seen in the charters and it's the more expensive way out, everybody has an attorney.
Yeah.
Which I can't stand. I agree. They all hire, like Dutchess, I think, or Ulster. Ulster has a minority and a majority counsel,
Oh my
and a
God.
county attorney.
Yeah.
There's 3 attorneys right there, it's
Yep.
$250,000.
That's not gonna happen here.
I think the county
A lot of
attorney would
counties
agree.
have that.
I mean, I don't
The larger
see,
counties.
I don't foresee
Yeah.
the issue, but the thing is, that is the only clean, cut way of having it done.
I am a firm
Because this one
believer,
here, our way is not gonna work out.
I'm a
Slice little
firm believer
thing.
that the county attorney represents the county, which is the legislature and the
Right.
county executive, and I've always felt that way.
That's what I agree when I read it.
And then when those conflicts come up, well, they gotta recuse themselves.
So can we reverse this? Not probably gonna get really mad at me, and
Yeah.
have the legislature appoint the attorney.
That was debated.
Well,
That was
that-
debated by the charter commission.
That would
I
have
wasn't
been,
there at the meeting.
that
No,
would have
that
been
was-
legislative council, right.
That was debated by the charter commission.
And
Yeah, man,
why
that-
did they go the other way?
Because in theory, that you gotta understand the charter commission, in theory, was wanted a benevolent dictator.
Say
They-
it again, I'm sorry.
I said the charter commission wanted in their county executive a benevolent dictator. They wanted him to be able to run the county and do everything. Forget about, he negotiated contracts and signed contracts. Legislature wasn't involved. That's the mentality that was going, and that's why you see certain things.
Can we come back at next meeting with some kind of resolution to
I
this?
don't know how you deal with
What
that.
can be, what do we do?
I don't know if there's a good alternative. When you say work for the county, well, there's a problem, because this county executive is gonna appoint somebody, but yeah, it's gotta get 2/3 to get through the approval process, all right? So where's his allegiance, all in all? And I think the person who's out here, anyway, is the county exec is out. Because the only way to get rid of them is 2/3 vote by the legislature, or the legislature itself deciding they want to get rid of them at a 2/3 vote. So.
Can you do that under the current charter?
I don't know if
Can
you
the
can.
board throw him out or her out just on a 2/3 vote without the county executive recommending it?
It's in that charter.
Yeah, it really is.
The line says the county attorney may be
It says on the bottom.
removed by the,
It says to comply with 805 of this article.
What
There's
page?
conflicts.
we are on page
Page
18.
Where's my glasses?
Conflicts is on the next page.
Here, I'll read the county attorney may be removed by the county executive, subject to a 2/3 vote of the county legislature. The county attorney may also be removed by the county legislature by a 2/3 vote by the legislature if he or she refuses to comply with the 805, which is the conflict. So you're right, you can remove unilaterally, unilaterally with a 2/3 vote, but that's only in cases where you found a conflict. I would read this as saying you usually have the two-step process. You need in most cases, you're gonna need the county exec.
What's a conflict?
Who decides that?
That's whenever the interests of a county executive and the legislature are inconsistent.
Yeah, like every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh? Like fracking?
Yeah.
What's your question there, Michael?
My question is going to be, and looking at it from a different perspective, 802, I don't think can be dissuaded here and thrown to the wolves. It says these are powers and duties of the county attorney. Therefore, as a taxpayer and a person out on the street who looks at this, I'm going to say I expect the county attorney to do A through F.
Yes.
Okay, so he's got to do A through F. You know, just to say you can just fire him for this or this or that, it's just his duties.
Right.
This is what I would expect him to be doing, him or her, let's not, it's going to be
Yes.
her, there's good women, a lot of good women attorneys, better probably, actually. I would assume that I would expect the attorney to say, I have to do this, because it says in this charter that I have to do this. And if the chief executive officer tells me, you are not going to do this, I would think there would be room to say that this can't be, because I expect this to be adhered to.
Well, I mean,
And knowing how the politics works where I worked and everything,
Look, I'm an attorney,
there would be all
Patrick's
kinds
an
of
attorney,
threats and
me.
things thrown around the room.
we know how to do this though. I mean, we know how to work for both executive and legislatures, but, you know, maybe the process will work and then the conflict comes up, you gotta deal with it as it arises, but.
That's what I'm thinking, it'd be yeah.
Well, the thing that I'm seeing with 805 and the county legislature being able to remove the county attorney when they refuse to comply with 805 is that you do get that situation where you have the county attorney has an allegiance to the executive. The executive and the legislature are at odds. In this case, according to the charter, the county attorney is supposed to be working for the legislature. And when that county attorney does not want to comply to the legislature's wishes, that's when the attorney is shown the door by the legislature.
Isn't that the,
That's what I'm reading.
isn't that the checks and balances we talk about all the time, you know?
Well, then I guess there's no problems in the city of Amsterdam, right?
Well, I was going to say, the city of Amsterdam, I sat there for almost 40 years, and it was crazy.
But what about this county executive believes truly that your economic development, that there is a massive amount of shale gas underneath this county here. And that this is the savior of this county, in addition to tapping into Schoharie County's beer garden, you know, or new beer distribution center they're gonna put there. That this, you could connect there, but this person campaigns on it, this person really believes it. I mean, at the lawyer, it just gets ugly, most unusual.
Mhm.
Well,
We've
we
seen
can,
ugly before, so.
we can give it some more thought. I always start this process by thinking and saying that the county attorney is going to act in the best interest of both parties. That's how you guys have to
That's
think.
right,
have to
that's
think.
right.
Then the
Yeah.
exception is.
I agree.
So please start your thinking like that, that this is all going to work.
Yeah,
And
you
then
didn't come here to fail.
you say the exception is when there's a conflict and you put in place a process for a conflict.
That's what, I like to think that everybody comes here for the betterment of the county.
That's what I would like to
And
think.
you have
I
to
agree.
think that
You
way.
gotta
Yes,
be,
you gotta think.
you gotta be optimistic and positive,
Yes.
you know?
Otherwise, you are gonna have, people are gonna get disgusted.
I think Steve's gotta go in a couple of minutes here, but if I could just ask you one more quick thing, we were discussing about the waiting period for legislators if they move to another district. I think we came to the conclusion that if somebody moves from one district to another, that they don't have to skip a term, is that correct?
We did look into this.
Oh, okay.
We did look into
Interesting.
it.
Which section is this again? We looked at this and I didn't know, Steve,
That's
I-
in the county legislature, the terms of office.
What
in
page?
the beginning,
I
right?
remember this.
Page 2, yes, you asked the question.
Page 202.
Thank you.
We thought that the paragraph B answered the question, so.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's see here. No person shall be elected to a full term of the office of legislator more than 4 times.
Right,
4 3-year terms, is that what it is?
yes.
Yeah, 4 per year.
And no person who has held the office of counselor or act as a legislator for more than a year and a half term shall be elected to a full term. The county legislature shall be elected for terms of 3 years if the general. County elected after serving 4. Patrick, where was it that we saw it here?
Up in section 202, it says there,
Two-
the county legislator may be elected after serving 4 consecutive terms,
Oh.
only if their office is vacated for 1 term. But that doesn't say if you move from district, let's say you bought a house in District 2
County
and you
legislator
live
shall
in
be
District 5, you know?
That's,
We moved to District 2, you're representing a new bunch of people, can that person not have to
Well,
wait?
we thought that B said you couldn't.
well,
That,
Is that what we decided?
Wait.
that's how we read it, but let
We
me.
didn't decide that.
We didn't.
Patrick and I looked at it.
Okay.
Isn't that where we saw it?
That was where we saw it. Yeah, we thought that section A left that open and then
Right.
B closed it. In fact, I think we read B to almost making A irrelevant, meaning I don't think we could think of any other scenario that B doesn't cover. But let me read it one more time together.
I don't know, it's still kind of vague.
yeah, I got a perfect scenario for you if you
Still
need
vague.
one.
Yes.
If someone's in, let's say, the 7th legislative district, and then they buy a house
Move to the
and
9th.
in the 9th, and they've served, let's say, 1 or 2 terms in the 7th district, and it's a completely
I
new
say you get a fresh 4.
fresh 4. Okay, I like that answer.
Elected a full term.
It has to apply to your district.
Right. I mean, I couldn't do,
You're not a county executive yet.
Exactly.
You're just you're not just, but you will be a legislator.
right. I mean,
Who's
I like the
represented?
term limits for the
That
districts,
district.
what it is, yes.
Giving
Yes.
other people a chance in the district. So I think that's a logical,
Okay.
it's contrary to what Patrick, you and I decided in the
Yeah.
office, but it makes more sense here
Yeah.
when you hear that exact example.
Yeah, I guess it all comes down to what's the definition of the office of county legislator? Are you saying that you can't be elected more than 4 times as a county legislator, or you can't
For
be,
that seat.
I think someone could bring a lawsuit against that.
or you can't?
But I think that a judge would rule that. Here.
Well, I agree with for the seat, and if it was for the same seat, or
Right.
let's say in the 9th, I couldn't exceed
You might
that
want-
term, I would still be held to that new term
So why
limit.
don't we add that in when you're making all these technical amendments to say within the district?
This is the Bloomberg case, right?
Right.
Simple
Right.
change.
This is a change you can make, that if you want to,
It's just to make it clear that you can't.
Why even invite the lawsuit? Redefine it how you want it to be defined.
I agree, yeah.
So you need to correct B. and
B, no person shall be elected to a full term of the office of county legislator more than 4 times within the district.
I like that.
Yeah.
And no, within their legislative district.
Okay.
I mean, it's simple, the public,
Yep.
that's fine, you're avoiding costly litigation, which the county has to pay for.
Mm-hmm. Which
Okay.
is stupid.
So that's that, we'll make a note on that as well. Patrick, did you
Yep.
get that one? That's 2.02.
What about the term of the attorney,
Yes.
not
That was my next question.
coinciding with the term of the legislators?
I like it with the executive.
Where are you? What article?
Are you in the new charter?
Back on 18
That
again.
was a question we asked
18?
last time that you were here.
You're in the new
We
charter
actually
now?
agreed on that.
Yeah.
We agreed
The question
with
of what,
the
does
attorney
the county
and
attorney, is
the
he appointed for
executive.
3 years
not
at the
the
pleasure of the
legislator.
board, or is he
Because
appointed for
even
4
if it
years at the
was
pleasure of the county
the
executive? The county
executive,
executive serves a different term.
I don't think
The
there's any
next
term.
legislator coming in,
You?
he would have, he or she would have
So,
1 year.
what are we? I'm not. I haven't read this yet. Is this?
Executive.
Are they saying there's a term for the county
I
attorney?
don't think so.
There's no term.
There's no
There's never a
There's
term
no
for.
term.
There's
For
no
the county
term.
attorney.
In other words, you're just saying he
Because
could,
it's
he could be
yearly.
appointed for 6 months
Okay.
and he's not
Yeah.
satisfactory.
No term.
You're
Yeah.
done. That's your
There's no
that's your
term for county attorney.
He's appointed,
Day by
confirmed
day.
by you, and removed by you,
Yeah.
or recommended to
year.
be removed by.
And that's not, has no
If the
bearing.
legislature doesn't agree to remove him, doesn't he stay?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as he's not thrown
So
off
it means he could continue to stay.
Yeah, he continues the job.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit different than the city, but I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah, it's
about.
like, come on.
I think it'd be different though.
So you have a problem and you say, you're gone. No, I'm not. I have to be confirmed to be gone. And nobody confirms me.
When we appointed Doug, we appointed Doug for a what?
2 years.
Two-year term.
He has
Two-year
served,
term.
I think he serves, I thought he serves as long as we serve. And then they
Well,
just do it again.
Dominic was making that point. That
That's what we were talking about last time.
This is an
Does
election
he serve
year.
coterminous with this board?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
His term runs out.
So why
in
shouldn't this be
December.
simple? He serves coterminous unless there's all this other gibberish in here they can remove for what, with whoever appoints him.
Because his term ends December 31st of this
Sure,
year.
if
right?
you're appointing
That's
him, it
when
should
his
be with
board
me.
expires.
But I'm not running for anything, so
Technically,
maybe
the
it should be with
resolution
me.
says 14.
Shouldn't it?
Patrick, the issue was, the county
You're gonna serve
executive
with the
has a
board,
4-year
for some
term.
of the
Yeah.
The
4-year
board
terms
a
on the board.
3-year
See,
term.
this is what we went through last
So
time.
when the executive comes
At least they got
in
consistent
and
terms
appoints,
starter anyway.
we'll just say for lack of a better name, Doug, as the county attorney,
Yeah.
okay? Is his term 4 or 3? Kind of the charter is silent.
Right.
I don't even know if he's got any.
I don't think he has any term either.
That's what it sounds like
I
you're
think, and
saying.
that's why, but that's also when you go back to where most counties have that the county attorney works at the pleasure of the county exec, that's not an issue, because when a new county exec comes in, they bring in their, whatever attorney they want, or they can keep that attorney as well, but they usually, usually the new county exec will clean house, or will bring in their own person to serve, and then get rid of the.
But if you're the chief executive officer and I appointed the attorney and I say, hey, this has been going really good, why should he have to leave after 3 years? But I still have 1 year. He should have the ability, him or her again, to stay with me till I leave.
If you want to be clear, and you're making charter amendments, you might want to put that in there. 4 years.
Because then you're saying, well, gee, guess what I did, but now you can't because
I think
there are only
that
3.
either no term or a 4-year term makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, to me it does too.
What you're saying is the county attorney is here now, that if the new one takes over, new executive takes over, if he wants to continue on with that same attorney, is that what you're saying?
Well,
Or
if he has, if they have the ability to appoint and it's confirmed,
Yeah.
then that's the end of it. Because you're not saying that he has term limits.
No, because you can get rid of them again. with
You
that
could have a
process,
department head
so-
going on for 40 years, for all that's worth.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we've brought some closure to that issue.
No,
Michael,
I personally don't, I don't think it should be in term. I mean,
I don't think so, I
don't
agree with
either.
you.
my
I think
own,
it's just-
my own feeling, I think it just should be, you serve with the pleasure.
Really, because you
Yeah.
could take him or her out anytime.
Well, I thought that was inherent within this, you serve
It
with the
is.
pleasure.
It
But
is.
what I'm saying
That's
is
what
that
I
you
would-
shouldn't have to vacate if he serves the pleasure. And I
Right.
still want the individual, when the new legislature is in, then I should be able to keep that
Well,
attorney.
you can, I mean,
That's right, okay, that's all I wanted to know,
If
then
the
there
new
isn't a
county-
problem.
If the new county exec comes in, it depends if we do this 6-month thing, but if the new county exec comes in, wants to continue with that same attorney, no reason why he can't. He can just, he can give that name to the legislature and say, here's the guy I want to appoint to
There's no
the
big deal.
Right.
office of county attorney, and they appoint him, they approve him. Oh, well, they, if they want to, if they don't want to, that's another story, but, that's simple enough. I don't see, that would be the same with any department head. If the new executive comes in and wants to appoint the department heads that's there now, which I hope they do, several of them, but that's not, won't be for me to decide, but if that's what that person wants to do, they appoint that, put that person in for appointment with the county legislature, if they approve it, fine, it goes on. I mean, that sounds so simple to me, it's too much common sense there. But,
Have you read this according to the budget, what has to be done, and that the finance committee has got to hold a public hearing also, and everything else, and what's changed and the dates?
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot going on here
oh yeah.
that I think the new body should be understood concerning how quick or not quick, and what reports they have to come up with, and when, and what's got to be put on display, et cetera. I mean, it's very specific in it.
The one good thing about that is, though, they don't have to have that until probably June or July of 2014. It doesn't give them a little time to work with that,
I don't know about that.
It's not like they gotta come in like they do some things, they come in January 2nd, they gotta be ready to, do things.
Right.
We got people here, John, we got people running for county legislature, they'd like to be able to come in and, we got people, running for offices, they'd like to be, have some kind of guidance, that's what I look at.
We did flag something here also, and we talked about this last time we were meeting on 26/15/05, execution of contracts. The provision states here, all contracts entered into by the county shall be executed in the manner provided in this charter. Now that manner is the county executive.
Yeah.
Then you have or, as directed by the county legislature. So,
Seems like it, you have to eliminate one of them.
we thought that was a little bit of a dual authority there, and most charter would permit the county executive to enter contracts. The board has the appropriation. That's the check and balance.
Yeah, if the board don't appropriate that, there's no contract.
So, we
Right.
wanted to put that one on the radar.
Okay,
And I'll leave you this here, so.
you're gonna leave this book.
And then the last thing we flagged here on this initial analysis, and we talked about this as well last time, conflicting direction on who's in charge of preparing the budget. The budget analysis, the treasurer or the county executive. Right now, you have the treasurer sort of reporting to the county executive or under supervision of
Right.
the county executive. These are both elected officials. We do see the need for some cleanup there.
Well, that's the one area where, when they removed the controller out of the charter, that's the one area that they never cleaned the language up.
No, that's right.
And I don't-
I remember that.
If there was an appointed controller, it would have made more sense.
I mean, we've got a fine treasurer,
Yeah.
wonderful man.
Yes.
Truly. But there definitely needs to be some cleanup there.
But that's the difference between the controller's position, which was initially,
This was a hot button issue for the charter before the referendum, so.
What
Yeah.
I'm hoping is our next meeting, I'm hoping that maybe it's not gonna happen, our next meeting, we should have some specific language for some of these, for some resolutions to clean this thing up. And I think, we'll probably hold a meeting, we'll get all the July 4th holidays, and probably about I think 22nd of July, we'll probably have our next meeting, but,
22nd of July?
yeah, well, that's not set in stone yet, but that's what I'm thinking. That gives everybody plenty of time to,
So should we come up with some suggested language on that?
yes, that's
On the budget?
I appreciate that, you guys are attorneys and
Yeah.
whatnot.
And I think our first step is we gotta see if you can, with that one section, if you can amend, we gotta confirm that. If you can amend the amendment section just by resolution, or do you,
Right.
you get locked in?
Well, there we have to look at, and we did check the powers of the treasurer and duties, because you can't remember, you can't take away a power or a duty without going to people.
Right.
So in this one, but we looked at the powers, and it's mostly payroll, and counts, your bank accounts. So we didn't necessarily see this as taking away, Harry, Segal went through this. powers and duties of the county treasurer. It's only one page.
Why did you mention payroll?
One page.
Very simple.
The duties of the treasurer are one page in state law. He's responsible for payroll, I believe. Just
Yeah.
processing.
Huh?
Just processing.
Yeah.
He receives and
Ours is actually
disperses.
stuck in data processing.
Right.
But
Custodian of all accounts.
nobody knows why.
Custodian of financial accounts. So I don't think that what you're doing, in other words, it doesn't say shall prepare and present the county budget. So you're not taking away something. But I want to be sensitive to what's going on.
Then you must divert back, you gotta revert back to county law then. What is the responsibility of the treasurer?
Right.
That's what he's
it is.
doing,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so when you get into that, the part is, well, what's different here is that the charter made the county executive the budget officer, whereas in the case of county law, the
treasurer.
the treasurer is the budget officer.
Correct.
Unless the board appoints someone else the budget officer.
Right. And you
So
just,
here, the public did it, took the authority, transferred it.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The charter did remove it from the treasurer and gave it to the county executive.
Yeah. I got,
Patrick, what you were referring to is this amendment of the charter, right?
Yeah, I think, we gotta look into, back into, is it 1501?
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of a snake that eats its tail kind of situation here. We're telling you that you can, well, our research found that you can amend a charter just by resolution, but your charter that's in existence already says that for any amendment you need to put it out to at least a referendum on petition. So the question is, can you change that just by, can you change your actual, and this is where you need, even if Steve and I come back with the affirmative, you can just change that by by resolution, as opposed to going to people. That's where you're going to need to probably educate the public on why, because it sounds counterintuitive.
That's when you would call us in and have us explain it to the board in a public meeting.
Right.
And let everybody fire off questions.
But let us confirm that too. I think that's what we were already leaning, but it's
okay, so before you go, let me ask you this.
yeah.
On a job description, it happens because it was gonna come up tonight, it was like the purchasing agent, right? They wrote into the charter a 4-year degree. This kid that we have now, in Putnam County with 100,000 people, and maybe the quantities that they're buying, maybe it warrants a 4-year degree. But the thing was, the person that we've had who's been doing it for the last X amount of years doesn't qualify. So it's like saying on
Not an elected official.
12/31, you're out of a job
Just
because.
amend it.
Amend it.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
should.
see, I got,
Sounds
So
like-
I think
You got a great employee, hard to find, but sure.
Yeah.
So-
that's not right.
So the question
It's
I had was,
It's wrong.
can you amend the job qualifications just
Why
like?
can't we? Let's do
Even
it.
that's in the charter, yeah, as long as you're
I'll
talking
sponsor
about,
that resolution.
it's not an elected official, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you can just by resolution.
Even though it was written in the charter?
Even though it's written in the
The
charter.
was a 4-year
and-
degree.
Yes.
I think you can exchange that for years of experience, education, job performance, and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yes, I think you can.
Well,
you
you're
can substitute
talking
that.
civil service classification, but
Yeah.
the thing was, the charter said 4-year degree.
Yeah, I know, and I, first of all, to get, the job pays, I think 32,000 a year, am I
Yeah,
correct?
which,
I think it's 32,000.
Yeah, it's 32.
Are you gonna get someone with a 4-year college degree to come work? I mean, you might for a very short period until they find
Well,
something.
the controller would have
Yeah,
needed,
you
the
might.
controller would have needed 2 7-year degrees in order to work here.
The last thing, and I do apologize, but old Patrick, he's got childcare issues too.
Yeah, that's okay.
The last thing I wanted to say is I do believe, and this is consistent with what we've all been talking about here, is you need to have a process here on a transitional powers of the charter legislature. And I did pull something from Herkimer here. The members of the county legislature elected in the fall, November of 2013, may convene prior to January 1st, 2014 to make necessary preparations for the operation of the budget and governing issues. So I did pull something from Herkimer back in the 1960s that did this, and I do think that might be relevant to what you're going through.
That was a simple charter. I have a copy that was 13 pages all told.
Yeah.
Something like that, 12, 13 pages.
Yeah, but there again, they anticipated meeting once every meeting quarterly.
They don't have a county, they're the smallest county in the charter.
They had a county administrator that they thought was like Massachusetts, and you'd have a town manager, and he would operate the county all year long. They were gonna meet 4 times a year. Little they find out, they changed.
So we may need to look about some transitional powers.
Okay, we leave it that way, then next time we meet, we'll try to,
Okay.
you guys go check on the,
Yeah, and if you come up with any other questions on this,
situation.
just send them to us so that we can just come back and have a, just try to answer as many as we can at once.
Okay.
But in the meantime, between that meeting, if you could go through this and you have more questions,
okay.
So we'll leave this with you.
Thank you.
Put that in
Yep.
orange.
Yep. I like the Herkimer County one.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's short and sweet.
It's a great thing you guys are doing, putting in the time to hand it off. And it does make sense to do the code now.
Steve gave you something else for wording.
This one here.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
this?
good.
Okay. Yeah.
You have the Herkimer one. I have these other examples of county attorney conflicts. 1, 2, 3. So this is showing your due diligence.
so do you think the whole thing was copied from Putnam County?
I think that's what they told everybody.
Almost verbatim.
Okay, that helps too, because then we can
It
make.
does help, because we know.
We'll contact Putnam and see, you can find out the intent behind some of these things, which always helps, the why it's worded this way.
The most important, I'd like to make sure that, like you're talking about, Bob, being able to amend with the resolution, make positively sure of that. And if we can, if that works, I'd like to have some, specific language in these areas we're talking about.
There's no game.
That we use in there. Because the administrative code, I think, the administrative code is just that, and all it is, that you're copying the charter and adding each
Little
section.
little things.
You're adding little things to what sections you want to change, that becomes your administrative. Actually, it's a charter plus.
Correct.
Yeah,
Is my correct? Yeah, all right, so,
You know how many guys
what I'd like to do is
used to
have
be
some of that
there?
language ready, and then, 'cause I'd like to have this obviously ready by
You think about all the guys that are up there.
October, so that we gotta go through the process of the,
Can you
I gotta say that.
forward that charter electronically to us?
Yeah, on the computer.
great,
So maybe we can just work right off of that.
yeah. Yeah, and track the changes.
I want to be careful that we don't, we're taking our direction from you.
Right.
You have to tell us what we come up with or what you want. It's
So you want it in
your will, not
Word
ours.
format, not PDF.
Word.
Okay.
I thought it was rather interesting in that
Yeah.
Putnam County has a provision for tampering with the code.
for the what?
For tampering with the code.
Oh, tampering with the code.
As
If
their
you tamper with
template.
the code, it's a $250 fine.
Oh.
And while we're talking about conflicts, keep in mind too that Steve and I, we can't, and we're not acting as your attorneys or as the county's attorneys. We're trying to help out in our NISAC capacity of trying to give some county guidance. But as you probably know, ultimately, your county attorney's your county.
We're
attorney.
very grateful, yes.
I just want to say that just to clear. Just
He's
make-
being attorney.
I am being kind of nerdy attorney. Yeah.
Thank you for coming, and
Yeah, you got
July 22nd, I think will be our next one.
Robin will send us.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, we'll make sure it gets out. Okay.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you
Bye.
so much for coming.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I hear you got a part there. Anything else anybody wants to discuss on this before we close up shop? I guess
I can't think of enough.
we do know we're going forward with administrative code. We do know that, and I think, I'm glad to hear we can do it by resolution. I think we can put all those items in one resolution. It might be a 2-page resolution or whatever, but
If we don't do nothing, they're gonna blame us. The
That's right.
new
It's
guy.
really a lot.
If we do something,
Clarify.
we get it wrong, so then they can blame us anyway,
and
so.
that resolution, the resolution we're going to come up with to amend the whole thing there, that, each one of those things on the resolution, they can be amended on there,
The one he
but
hit me over in
I
storage
can-
with,
but
oh, how ridiculous.
I'm gonna take that up to your office, and I'll be in look like
Some of the
that.
people I know went to him and says, he says.
I do agree with Dominic, I think we have to have some kind of document ready for January first. Even though, like I say, as simple as it may be, or, you know, complicated maybe, or whatever, I think we have to have
Yeah,
that.
we did that.
At least I think the new people, you may be the new executive, whoever, new legislators, whatever, but they have to have something
Knock at
that,
every door.
you know, just shooting in the dark, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, they just came out, they
It's,
voted. I mean, he just carries it to an extreme. He's supposed to interview you, the process.
You know why?
is
Because
supposed
we
to
got
call
the
you in and
experience
interview you. He gets bothered. He just does what
at these
they call him
issues.
and says, "You're not
You know,
gonna do this
right.
guy." That's what
Those
he
guys at the charter, none of those guys had these experiences.
That's why I was kind of hoping they would have had a couple of sitting supervisors on that commission, but the resolution, you know, read the way it did, but yeah, I had a couple of more experienced supervisors, been here a while, like yourself, John, some people with more, you know, time under, you know, done more time here, that know what's going on. It would have been nice if they'd been on there, but,
You're getting a little liberal with throwing my name around.
am I? I have a lot of respect for you, John.
Watch it, John.
I'm never going to say, I never say bad about any supervisor for that matter, but
There you go.
it's not, it's usually, I like to take the high road, you know, if I can, you know, and, you know, try to work from that angle. So, anyway, motion to adjourn. Got it? All in favor? Aye, 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 and aye.
I don't think you have a quorum anymore.
You know,
Stagger
It's
out.
undebatable.
Doesn't know what it
You
is.
don't have a
Yeah,
quorum.
he is.